MMA fans, this is your DenverSportsBetting.com's MMA preview show powered by the MMA Plug. DenverSportsBetting.com, your one-stop shop for all Colorado sports. Check them out for coverage of your local sports teams, wagering advice, and betting previews just like this one. I'm Ron Kruck. I am the MMA voice for the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass, joined as always by my man, Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. Hey, Jordan, what's happening, bro?
How you doing, Ron? Great day today.
Absolutely. I'm doing great. And, before we look ahead, we might as well take a look back and look at how we did last week. Both of us, with our picks, took some chances and did a solid 2-1. Got to give you credit, man. Main event, you were right on. You kept the focus on a comeback from Holly Holm, and she got it done against Aldana. I knew I should have listened to my heart on that one, bro.
Oh, yeah. That was, the whole time when I was watching that fight and seeing Holly just really go for it, she had that sense of urgency that I spoke about. The old fan from the press conference when he started singing the "I love you, baby." That whole time when Holly just comes and she just dominated for 5 rounds. And then once I saw the bet slip hit and once that money was deposited into my account, I just started screaming in my head, "I love you." So I can't beat it.
Absolutely, man. She was relentless. That was the old Holly Holm that we have grown accustomed to for sure. Co-main event, I hit with the underdog, Felipe over Costa. That was a big one for me. Made a little cash on that, and then we both were correct with our feature fight bets. Jordan, you nailed Casey Kenny. That was a solid pick.
Oh, yeah. Casey Kenny, I mean, what else could he have done to try to get the finish, Ron? I mean, he absolutely blistered that man for 15 minutes.
Unreal.
It came to a point, I think, that you almost saw it in for half a second in Casey's eyes after he had unloaded a just massive and his man go down. It's just like, what do I got to do to this guy?
Yeah.
But he proceeded to finish up the fight strong, hops the fence, walks right over to Mick Maynard and tells Mick, "I want to fight next weekend." I love it. How could you not like that man as a fan?
Oh, my God. And he got it. He's got it. He's returning October 24th. He's going up against Nathaniel Wood. I mean, this guy is just a machine. It's what, like you just said, fans love to see someone like that. I just beat this guy up for 15 minutes. I should have finished him. I couldn't, so I want to get right back in there. And Mick Maynard hooks him up, so he's got a quick turnaround. He'll be back at it on October 24th. I love that type of fighter. And another guy, that was your feature pick. I got to say, I scored with the old man, Carlos Condit, getting it down. How about the Jackson Wink product breaking his 5-fight losing streak, earning his first victory since May of 2015. Unbelievable. Hit that one despite my co-host's doubts and mockery.
I'll have to tip my cap to you on that one. It was a great night for the Jackson Wink Academy. Obviously, we mentioned Holly Holm in the main event there. Carlos Condit was able to pull off the win against another longtime veteran and staple within the welterweight division in Court McGee. That punch at the end of the first round was really, I believe, that was the tail of the fight, or that was the sequence of the fight that pretty much sealed up the win.
Could have been, as you said earlier, that gave him the round for sure and may have turned the tide a little bit. But good to see the veteran get back in the win column. All right, well, no time to rest because the UFC machine keeps chugging along. It's time to preview the UFC on ESPN Fight Night 37 from Flash Form on Fight Island. Action is on ESPN Plus this week, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the main event, I'm pretty pumped about this one, Jordan, because really this main event is going in one of the UFC's most stacked divisions, and it's finally getting some love. As we turn the spotlight on the ever-evolving 135-pound division. Ever since former champ Henry Cejudo retired from this division, it's really been wide open. And the matchup has number 1 ranked bantamweight and top ranked contender Marlon Moraes facing number 4 rated Corey Sandhagen. That's the main event of UFC Fight Night. Winner gets themselves a step closer to challenging the champion, Peter Vian, and just into that wide open, really 135-pound mix. So, Jordan, the last time we saw Moraes was last December, UFC 245. He won a controversial split decision over former featherweight champion Jose Aldo. Although many, including the UFC's big boss Dana White, disagreed with that outcome, many thought Moraes got the win, or Aldo, the old veteran, got the win. But listen, Moraes, 30-fight veteran, tore it up in the World Series of Fighting, didn't lose for a stretch of 5 years. He could earn himself a title shot with the victory. On the flip side, 28-year-old Colorado product Corey Sandhagen looks to begin a new win streak on Fight Island. He had won 7 straight, including his first 5 in the UFC, before losing to the extremely tough Aljamain Sterling, who is the number 2 ranked bantamweight in the UFC rankings. Now Sandhagen looks to begin a new win streak and kind of get his way back into the title contention conversation. All right, the odds for this main event, according to denversportsbetting.com and from DraftKings, interesting how this line's changed a little bit, Jordan. The favorite coming in is Corey Sandhagen at minus 140. Moraes is at a plus 120 right now. He actually opened up around a plus 105 underdog, so some of the money is coming in on him. The main event preview breakdown is sponsored by the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill located in Westminster. Come on down to the 3070 Sports Bar to try their golfer's delight. And they also have 420 Vegas bombs. That's worth going just for that. It's the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill located on West 120th Ave in Westminster. Big main event in the bantamweight division. Jordan, break it down for us.
Well, Ron, the first thing that I'm going to say is, you remember what Henry Cejudo was known as prior to him being Triple C, or the King of Cringe. His nickname was the Messenger. So what does that mean in this particular equation? I think that Henry Cejudo is the one who delivered the message, or the blueprint, if you will, to be able to defeat Marlon Moraes. So when you see that, or once you hear me break this down, you will understand why I believe that to be the case. In each fight since that Henry Cejudo fight, you saw Henry have to weather an early storm, but the way that Moraes' physiology is built, or the way that his body composition is he's a very fast twitch muscle fiber based guy in terms of his just composition, the way that he fires, the way that his body works. So what does that mean in relation to a fight? Well, it's similar to where people always say, oh, well, a guy like Conor McGregor gets tired of gases. It's not that they have poor conditioning. It's not that they don't train that aspect of their fighting. It's just that their style, they're so explosive that there's only so much of that in the tank that they're able to offer. So that does not really hold up over the course of time when you're talking 15 to 25-minute fights. That is a situation to where if you want to be successful against a guy like a Marlon Moraes, you have to be able to weather that early storm, or to be able to use enough defensive evasive tactics on that side of the game to avoid him landing that big shot and wearing the damage. Let him throw and miss, because that is going to exert more energy than if he throws and even skims or barely hits you. Once you can get him tired, you are then going to be in an advantaged position. I think that works very well for somebody like a Corey Sandhagen, who trains out of Denver, Colorado from the Elevation Fight Team, who, as we all know, everybody who comes from an altitude advantaged background tends to be able to hold up better later on in those fights. Corey also has a very, very decorated kickboxing background. So when we're talking to be able to fight fire with fire in the striking department, Corey is the guy who has the ability to be able to match that, which Marlon be able to bring. Corey is also very skilled on the ground. Moraes, obviously a skilled jiu-jitsu practitioner as well. I love this matchup. I think that this is the perfect name for Corey to put himself back into that title contender conversation, because obviously we've seen nothing but greatness from him. Little stub of the toe against Aljo, but he'll get back to it.
Yeah. And no, no shame in a loss like that. That's for sure. Great breakdown. As I look at this fight, Jordan, a lot on the line for both these guys. We'll start with the Brazilian. Moraes, if he wins, he'll improve to 6-1 in his past 7. Again, his only loss coming against the aforementioned Cejudo. Yes, Aljamain Sterling is number 2. And listen, after he's won 5 straight, he could be most deserving of a title shot against Jan. But it's Moraes who knocked out Sterling in the first round of their fight back in 2017. So listen, with a win, he could get a step closer to that ever elusive title shot. Maybe, this could be the biggest fight of his UFC career right now. Always tough. He's just, holding the black belt in both Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. 23 career victories with 10 knockouts, 6 wins coming by way of submission. Very well-rounded fighter. Now, Sandhagen, you mentioned his kickboxing background. I've seen the Elevation Fight Team product, his career, and really his fight game just evolve over the years. I go back to when he was with the RFA. He went 2-0 in that promotion before winning 2 out of 3 in the LFA, which of course earned him that call up to the UFC. Love his volume striking ability. His movement is phenomenal. And he has been able to do what you just mentioned could be the factor in this fight. He's been able to tire out his opponents, use that long jab, use those devastating leg kicks, break them down, tire them out, and just really incorporate a nasty stand-up game. My X factor coming into this fight is just the experience. Listen, he's 32 years old, but Moraes has been going to work inside the cage for a long time. He had his first professional fight back in 2007. This guy's been doing it a long time, and he's fought the best that this division has had to offer. As we said, Cejudo, Jimmy Rivera, Aldo, many others. He has a lot more cage experience than the young Sandhagen does. 16 more professional fights. That could be a factor. So now it becomes the time for our picks. And of course, our picks are sponsored by 3AM Water. Hydration for the go-getters. You have to try this product. You're not going to regret it. Check them out. 3amwater.com for more information. All right. Again, the odds coming into this fight, Jordan, Moraes is the underdog, plus 125, according to Denver Sports Betting and DraftKings.com right now. And the favorite, Corey Sandhagen, up to minus 145. Who you got, brother?
Colorado proud, baby.
Oh, boy, there it is.
We are going with Corey Sandhagen in this one. I think that Corey has turned the corner on whatever it was that he spoke in his interviews that was holding him up for that last fight with Aljo. And I think that he gets back into the winner's circle and continues to threaten within the race of being the first Colorado native undisputed champion.
I like it. As I broke this fight down, it was a little bit more simple for me when I was looking at their strengths and weaknesses. The Brazilian, Moraes will want to fight inside the pocket. He'll want to keep it close and, maybe even turn this into a grappling match at some point. Flip side, Sandhagen will want to keep it on the outside, pepper him with those jabs and his wicked leg kicks. If Sandhagen can utilize that devastating stand-up attack, use his significant reach advantage and his long striking ability, I think the exact factor that you mentioned earlier, I think the 32-year-old Moraes gasses out in the later rounds, championship rounds. Of course, this isn't a championship fight, but 4th or 5th round. And I think Sandhagen will take advantage and finish the Brazilian. So we're in agreement this week. I, too, will go with the Colorado product, Sandhagen, and he's going to make things even more complicated in the bantamweight division. Current closing odds of this recording. Again, Moraes is the underdog at plus 125 and Sandhagen the favorite at minus 145. Current odds, of course, coming in from denversportsbetting.com. Thanks for being a part of denversportsbetting.com's MMA preview show. We are sponsored by the MMA Plug, of course. Sports betting is literally exploding in Colorado, people, right now. You need to be prepared. So check out denversportsbetting.com for odds, picks, and betting previews just like this one. I'm Ron Kruck, the play-by-play man for the Legacy Fighting Alliance on UFC Fight Pass, joined as always by my partner, Colorado MMA journalist Jordan Kurtz. We are previewing the UFC Fight Night 37 on ESPN Plus event, going down on October 10th from Fight Island. All right, Jordan. Well, the lighter fighters are also featured in the co-main event this week. Featherweights Edson Barboza and Marquand Amirkhani are set to throw down. It's a big opportunity for Amirkhani. He has won 3 out of his last 4 fights and could make some waves in that 145-pound division with a win over the veteran and bigger name Barboza, who, hey, bottom line, just needs a win. He has lost 3 straight and 5 out of his last 6. It's a interesting matchup between these two different ends of the spectrum right now. Current odds, according to denversportsbetting.com and DraftKings, as Edson Barboza, he is a big favorite going into this one, Jordan, at minus 265. The comeback on Amirkhani is plus 210. Let's break down this main event. Of course, the main event breakdown is sponsored by 3070 Sports Bar and Grill located in Westminster. Get down to the 3070 Sports Bar today. You will not regret it. It's an awesome local hangout. Make sure to try their Golfer's Delight. And they also have 420 Vegas bombs. I think it's also known as the Kurtz special, if I might be mistaken. I don't know, but that's the 3070 Sports Bar and Grill located on West 120th Ave in Westminster. All right, Jordan, veteran fighter versus the guy trying to make a name for himself. Give us your take on the co-main event.
This is a tough matchup for Edson to try to get back into the winner's circle. You have somebody like Amirkhani who comes from that same camp, out there in Ireland with SBG, along with with Gallagher, who just picked up a win in Bellator the other night. You have your guys like your Dylan Dennis's of the world and Conor McGregor, which I say all of those names in relation to, if you look up this man's Tapology page, you will understand exactly why all of those names are relevant. Just to see, he has, Ron, I don't know if you've seen it, but in his Tapology page, there's a picture of him kind of sitting on a throne, and he has three models around him. And
yes, I did.
Like, like a big cat or something. Or yeah. So just that total, just aura of luxury, kind of arrogance, if you will.
He's got gambling chips around him, martinis, women. Yeah, I was like, am I on the right page?
Yes. So it looks like a Stratton Oakmont from the Wolf of Wall Street sort of ad,
Exactly.
sort of situation. So it just must be something over in the water there. So that also, though, he has a lot of confidence when he fights, and that's something that I believe you need to have against a guy like an Edson, who is so dangerous with the striking. If we're talking someone who, I think, if you will, we just talked about writing the blueprint, Justin Gaethje did the same thing. Justin Gaethje came out right away against Edson Barboza, and he put the pressure on him. He didn't allow Junior to start to get his kicking game working, because I think that's going to be the tail of the difference right then and there. If Amirkhani allows Edson to really get his legs going, if he allows him to start getting the whip on the end of those kicks, It might be a tough night for him. We know that on any given moment, Edson has the ability with his legs to end the fight. It's not going to come from his hands. It's not going to be the punches. But just like you've seen, he has the most infamous wheel kick that we've ever seen in MMA history. And that happened a long time ago, though. That was, I believe, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there against Ada. So that, mind you, Ron, that's 9 years ago. And he just has looked like, we've talked about it the last few weeks, guys that are kind of starting to show that aging, though those aging tendencies. I think that might be where we're seeing Junior at. He's had some disputes as far as his contract goes. So it hasn't been all peaches and roses over there in the Barbosa camp.
Yep, that is very true. And a fourth straight loss and another defeat in his second weight class. I mean, that bottom line has the makings of a final outing inside the UFC. Hey, it doesn't help that he also at one point was asking for his release. So, his UFC career may be on the ropes in this one. He's 34 years old. He's still in the top 15 of the featherweight division, just barely hanging on at number 14. But he's been doing it for a long time. I mean, he's fought for over a decade. This is his second UFC bout at 145 pounds. But hey, let's be honest, this move to featherweight hasn't gone swimmingly for the longtime UFC vet, losing back-to-back, albeit split decisions defeats, but still losses to Paul Felder and to Dan Ige. Still has that knockout power, 11 knockout wins in his 20 career victories, but he's going up against a young and hungry Amir Khani, 6-2 since he's moved to the UFC. 11 submission wins, very slick on the ground. 3 victories, I believe, coming by way of Anaconda choke. He's hit really a nice groove. He's won 3 out of his last 4. However, this is by far the biggest test yet for the man known as Mr. Finland, who is actually from Iraq and apparently gambles and hangs out with models. But listen, I digress. It's still going to be a great fight. We'll break that down at another time. For me, Jordan, the X factor in this one is, listen, every fight in your UFC is your biggest of your career. But I think the desperation factor is really on Barbosa. Needs a win a lot more than Amir Khani does. Not only if he wants to stay in the UFC, but also if he wants to test the free agent market and go on. So big fight for both, but I think the victory is much more important on the side of Barbosa. All right, it's time for our picks now. And of course, our MMA picks are sponsored by 3AM Water, hydration for the go-getters. You've got to try this product. You will not regret it. Check them out at 3amwater.com for more information. All right, Jordan, I will tee you up. Who do you got in the co-main event?
I'm going to go with Amir Khani. I think that Barbosa, and I hate to label him this way because he's been such a vet for so long, but he has gone as far as you can go as a one-trick pony. We just haven't really seen a large evolution in any of his grappling or his ground game in terms of submission defense. There's at times where he's looked absolutely lost or like a fish out of water when he's been held down by some power grapplers or some guys who are very strong in maintaining and establishing position on the ground. I think that Amir Khani has that ability to be able to put him through those adversity situations. So I'm going to go with the young gun in this one.
All right. I like it. I think this is going to be a fast-paced, stand-up striking fest. Should be very entertaining. Listen, we've seen Amir Khani destroy opponents quickly before. Just ask Andy Ogle about that. Took him out in 8 seconds. That was back in, I believe, 2015. But Amir Khani uses those strikes to set up his ground game where he's ended 11 of his 16 fights by way of submission. Now, another key when I was breaking this down is just the level of competition. Barbosa has faced much more difficult opponents and elite talent during his career. Yes, he's lost 5 out of his last 6, but 2 of those bouts were against Khabib and Gaethje. So, of course, there's no shame in those defeats, but that was at a heavier class as well. And some of his victories over those big-name fighters are going back a few years. So, I look at the odds. I'm going with Jordan. I'm going to go with Barbosa in this one. He is a minus 265 favorite. I do not like that number. It's too big. The comeback on Amir Khani plus 210. I think there's a lot of value in taking a flyer on him, but I'm going to go with the bigger and more desperate Barbosa to win this fight. But with both of these fighters, Jordan, possessing that, finishing ability, I like the bet on the fight will end with a finish more than I like betting on either of these guys.
I agree completely.
Awesome. And the closing odds as of this recording coming in, of course, from denversportsbetting.com and from DraftKings, the veteran Edson Barboza minus 265, and the comeback on the underdog Marquin Amir Khani is at plus 210. We are rolling on. This is the denversportsbetting.com MMA preview show sponsored by the MMA Plug. Check out denversportsbetting.com. You want to prepare yourself if you're betting on DraftKings or FanDuel. The way to do that is going to denversportsbetting.com for the most up-to-date articles and previews on all your local teams, and of course on the UFC as well. Ron Kruck with Jordan Kurtz previewing UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, going down on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Prelims for this one begin at 6 Eastern, Saturday, October 10th. All the action on ESPN Plus, and the main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. All right. Well, we've broken down, Jordan, the main and the co-main event. So now we turn the spotlight on a fight or fighter on the card that you and I are keeping an eye on. Jordan, what fight is interesting to you this week?
Shocker. Put the X on the chest. I'm going with my boy Yusuf, the Moroccan Devil Zalal.
What? Shocking. I'm writing this down. This is unheard of. Go for it.
Totally blindsided you with that one, right? So when we're talking Yusuf, the Moroccan Devil Zalal, we're talking one of the brightest young prospects in the entire UFC, Ron. This is a guy who is barely 24 years old, who is searching for his 4th victory in the UFC octagon in 2020 alone. This is a kid who has world champion potential. He checks all the boxes that you could possibly imagine for future superstar. He is very, very marketable as a whole, just his image in general. I mean, the charisma. Yusuf is a guy who all you have to do is turn the camera on. You don't have to worry about anything else because he's going to give you everything that you could possibly want. You have saw in that fight against Peter Barrett, and I've been able to see in the training following that time, that when you look at Yusuf, it's almost as if, and I'm going to bring one out from the vault here, but a lot of people will understand this reference. It's almost as if when in The Matrix, when Neo starts to believe that he is the one, and everything just around him starts to slow down, and he really just comes into his own and reaches that level within the the hierarchy of self-actualization.
You are such a dork, and I love it.
Hey, I got to go with whatever I can. But in this, though, Yusuf started to, you could see just little moments within that fight where it's like, man, everything that I'm trying is working.
Yeah.
He had never thrown that spinning kick before, and he throws it and boom, lands. Almost a curtain call right away out of the gate. And then you really started to see him just have fun in there. That picture that they took, that they shared on the UFC page of him while he had the backpack with Barrett, and he just looks up and he sees the photographer right above the post. And he was telling me on my podcast, he said, I saw the guy there, and right then in the moment, I just thought, oh man, there's the lens right in my face. Let's smile. And so he said he smiled, and then I kind of looked again, and the guy just kind of like gave a little nod of the head. He said, hey, I must have gave him something good. For him to be able to process all of that information right then and there while he's in the middle of a fight, that tells me that is elite level cognition when they're in there. That's not just being able to process what's going on within the physical aspect. That is knowing, that is seeing what separates the good from the great in all of sports, is the ability to process information in the shortest amount of time. So if he's able to see all of those things at once, and then it's just a slowed down sort of situation, and he was able to notice all of that at once and did not miss a beat in the fight, that is something special. what we've seen is just improvement left and right from him in every aspect of his game. His offensive wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, his striking is elite and world class. Now that he's continuing to grow into his body, now that he's committed to staying at 145 pounds, the sky is the limit for this young kid. It really, truly is. The sky is the limit. Yusuf is also a native tongue Arabic speaker, so he gets to do a lot of different media opportunities this week, to where he gets just that vein of exposure that he wouldn't have otherwise, being in that side of the world. He also gets to really just put his background, his culture, everything behind him in the spotlight while fighting in that region of the world. You know, just like I say, that's a major opportunity for him to grow his global brand. He understands what the situation is, but he also doesn't put too much pressure on himself in that regard. He's just going to go out there and he's going to have fun. He had a shake-up, last-minute change for the opponent, but Yusuf, I promise you, is going to go out there, do what he does, and he will put on a show. Get your popcorn ready.
I love it. Well, who was he originally scheduled to face?
I'm gonna butcher the name. He was a Korean guy, Seung Woo Chu.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I butcher those foreign names so bad sometimes.
No, you're spot on when you break down Zalal. You know, Yusuf has never met a camera he didn't like, that's for sure. But he is a great personality. He is a young gun, top prospect. You know, I go back to in the LFA where he was uber confident. It was insane. He took one fight as a last minute replacement on like 14 hours notice. He jumps in and gets the win. But for me, Jordan, it was more the defeats in the LFA that really turned his career around. He lost to Jose Mariscal. That was back at LFA 57. And that was almost like, oh, well, you don't stay undefeated in MMA. Nobody does. He dropped down to 6-1. Then he loses again, close split decision. Could have gone either way to Matt Jones, where he was at a crossroads in his career. He needed to really kind of shake things up a little bit. You know, when you're that confident and then you start losing, look at Ronda Rousey. Some fighters don't come back from that. Yusuf got better from those defeats. And that is, to me, has been the real key to his turnaround. He gets into the UFC after winning another fight in the LFA. And as you mentioned, Jordan, 3 straight victories, top prospect to keep an eye on, and just a great guy. Fight fans will always love to see him in action. So good call on that one. I am looking at my feature. I went back and forth with this one, man. I it was really hard, but it's, you know, all the little guys were getting all the love and all the talk. So I'm looking at a good old-fashioned heavyweight showdown between 2 veterans with a combined 75 career fights. I mean, that's mind-blowing. That's a lifetime in the cage. 38-12, Big Ben Rothwell, and then Marcin Tybura, who comes in with a 19-6 record. This could be a heavyweight slugfest that earns one of these guys a highlight reel knockout, or it could be an absolute snoozer. I've been going both ways with this one. It could be an absolute boring fight that results in an uneventful 3-round decision for someone. I'm thinking that it's going to be the former. I think it's going to be a fun fight. You look at these guys. Big Ben, crazy, has won 2 straight. Although he didn't look that impressive in his last fight, a split decision win over Ovince St. Peru. He did make an impressive comeback win against Stefan Struve in a fight that he was really losing. Now, maybe a few shots to the groin might have turned the tide in that one, but bottom line, Big Ben, he scored the TKO and got the win. Tybura, he's won back-to-back fights, albeit against less than elite competition. This is his opportunity, in my opinion, to lose the label of the fighter that struggles against top-notch opponents. We've seen him lose to Verdum, to Derek Lewis. You know, on the other side, give him credit, he does have a win over Andrei Arlovsky, but he will be looking to keep Polish MMA fighters in the news. I mean, that's so, how 2020 is that? We're talking Polish MMA is now at the forefront, but after his fellow countryman, Jan Blachowicz won the UFC light heavyweight belt. It's all Polish MMA all the time now. This isn't the elite heavyweight matchup with, a future title fight on the line, but it is a battle between two experienced veterans. And when you add that one punch knockout ability, that makes this fight worth watching alone. The current odds coming in from denversportsbetting.com and DraftKings, Big Ben Rothwell is your favorite. He opened up at a -170. He is down to -160. The comeback on the underdog Tybura, he was at +150. Really like that bet at +150. He's down to +130. The X factor in this one, Jordan, is me. I really, full disclosure, I have not done well betting on or betting against Big Ben Rothwell. It's just, one of those guys, I'm telling you, it goes back to 2008, and I had covered him in the IFL forever. He was the poster boy for the IFL. He was supposed to take the UFC on by storm. He didn't work out there right away, goes to Affliction. I'm like, this is it. He's taken on Andrei Arlovsky. It's Big Ben's coming out party, and didn't get it done. I was wrong. So since about 2008, I've been wrong with Big Ben, but I'm not a quitter. So I'm betting against him once again. My pick for this one is Marcin Tybura. A little bit. I liked the odds a lot better when he was at +150, but I'm going to go with the underdog on this one.
Well, since you're picking against Big Ben, the King of Kenosha, that just makes me feel that much better about my pick that I was choosing Big Ben.
Perfect. I don't blame you, dude. I don't blame you. I mean, there's a little insight for the bettors out there. Does Kruck still, is he the Rothwell kiss of death? If you bet on him, stay away from him. If you bet against him, well, then go on Big Ben. So, Jordan, you're a wise bettor, my young friend.
I appreciate that.
All right, my man. Well, another great show. That's going to wrap another Denver sports betting MMA preview show sponsored by the MMA Plug. Jordan, enjoy the fights this weekend, my friend.
Yes, sir. You do the same.
All right. Check back more for UFC event previews and betting advice on denversportsbetting.com. Make sure you follow us on social media. Jordan is at Peanut Podcasts on Twitter. Denver Sports Betting is at Betting Denver, and I am at Kruck on Twitter. Instagram is Denver Sports Betting. Comments from the Peanut Gallery and Krucker7. For my man Jordan Kurtz, I'm Ron Kruck, and that is all.